The topic for today is called as vendor master. It's related to this purchase to pay cycle. Whenever any company code or business buys any material from the supplier, which is nothing but a vendor, before we initiate this buying process, your vendor's record needs to be maintained in SAP system. Maintenance of vendor's information, vendor's record is called as vendor master or vendor master data. And the topic for today is vendor master. Here we do configuration for vendor master, and then we do user part of vendor master. In configuration of vendor master, we got to do three things. We create vendor account group. We create number range for our vendor account group. And we do assignment of group to the number range. Now what this group basically is, in our business, we may have multiple hundreds and thousands of suppliers. We try to group similar nature of suppliers. Grouping of similar nature of suppliers is very important. So what we do is we create groups, and all similar nature of suppliers we add in their respective groups. Like for example, I create one US suppliers group, US 00. And then any supplier I have from US who supplies something to me, to my business, I add all these US suppliers in this group. Then I have, say, local suppliers group with the code, let's say, LS00. Any local or Canadian supplier which I have who supplies something to me, I will add in this group. Then I have Chinese suppliers, CS00. Any supplier I have from China or suppliers I have from China supplying something to my business, I will add these suppliers in this group. These are called as vendor account group, which we are going to create. Second step is creating number range for the groups. Number range means we will do something like this. We create one number range interval for this group. Let's say number range can be 101 to 200. Whenever in this group I'm going to create any supplier, or I'm going to create supplier's account, vendor account, vendor will be created with the number. Like the way we have bank account number, we have here vendor account number. So vendor will be created with a number, but which number? System will not use any random number from somewhere. System will use the number from the number range this, which we will create for this group. So suppose in this group, I create one vendor, let's say Walmart. So when I create this vendor master, system will automatically assign number 101. Any other vendor which is going to be included in the group will be vendor number 102. Like this, all US suppliers which I add in the group will be assigned a number from this number range. Similarly, for each group, I can create different number ranges like any local suppliers I have in the group. Suppose I create this group, sorry, this vendor. So this vendor will have number 103, right? Right?
203, right?
Okay, my mistake. Let's say
201.
203, right? I think someone is saying
201.
something.
I mean, start with 1, sorry.
Yes, yes. So as we discussed, number range will be group specific. Will be means can be group specific. So if this number range is assigned to this group, in this group, vendors which I'm going to create will be assigned numbers from this series. But if for this group I have another number range like this one, and then when I create any supplier in this group, number will be used from this range. And system will use the number which is available first. Not any system basically will follow the sequence of the range. So this will be number 1. All right. This way, we create vendor account group, then we create number range, and then we assign number range to the group, assign number range to the group. And these are the 3 steps we'll try to do now. Let's log into the system. Let's try to do it. Let's log into the system. So I log into the system, I get my initial screen called as SAP Easy Access screen. I go to SPRO screen, click on reference IMG. I see my display IMG screen. So the enterprise structure topic is done yesterday. Now we are doing another topic, vendor master, which is usually done by finance team. So we go to financial accounting new. You see this folder, financial accounting new. Click on this financial accounting new. And then you go to accounts receivable, accounts payable, this folder. And here you have vendor master. You open this. Then you have master data, which is vendor master data. Open this. And now you go to preparations. And we have define vendor account group. This one. Then for the group, we create number range. And just below this, we assign number range to all. So click on this execute button to create vendor account group. New entries to create new group. Suppose my vendor account group is going to create. Suppose
Sorry, can you go back just one step, Gaurav?
Go back one. Go back one.
Which one did you choose? So
first one, define account group with screen layout. First one.
okay.
All of these screenshots you will be getting. So there is user number 10. Log. So there is user number 10 is using this screen. Anyone has any idea why we got this message? Data is logged by the user. Did we discuss?
Somebody already logged in using their interface.
Correct. At one point of time for configuration on few screens, not all the screens, one person can access that screen at one point of time. So if I'm trying to use this screen, if I'm trying to access this screen like this, system initially gave me that message that the data, that the user is logged in. I mean, using that screen. So I have to wait for some time and then I can log in this, I can access the screen this way. But if in case you keep on waiting and the user is not coming out, being around say 5 minutes or more, then you can use another screen transaction code called as SM12, SM12, and you can kick the user out forcefully. How to use SM12? Anyone, when you have any error of this, like, accessing the screen, you let me know. I will share the link with you and you can see how it's done. Or throughout, like when we are doing practice, if you get any error, you let me know. I will try to help you. Right. So we come to the screen, new vendor account group, click on new entries. I want to create, let's say, this one. Local suppliers group, LS00. But instead of LS00, I want to give the code, let's say, VD01. Okay. So let's create a group with the code VD01. Give the name, description of your group, VD01, local suppliers group. Press enter to validate. And if I click on save button, my vendor group VD01 will be created. So what are we doing? We are doing vendor group. So when I click on save, my vendor group will be created. But what I see, I have something called as field status as well. On the same screen, I have something called as field status. Now what this field status is? So in materials management, we will see this term very frequently, field status, which is also called as field selection, also called as field reference, also called as screen layout. Throughout the training, we'll be using either of these terms on different screens. Field status, field selection, field reference, or screen layout, but everything is same. So when we are creating vendor account group, we say this field status section. What it means is that in this group, local suppliers group, when I'm going to add my vendor, create my vendor, suppose in this group, when I'm going to create this vendor master, when I'm going to create vendor, system will ask me different kind of information, like name of the vendor, phone number of the vendor, email, their banking account information, their tax information, like that. Hundreds and hundreds type of different fields system will ask me. So this information is categorized in 3 sections. General, which you see here. General, company code, and purchase. General means any general information of the vendor, like name, phone number, email, address. Company code means accounting information of the vendor. Accounting means bank information, tax information of the supplier, and many more as well. Purchasing means procurement information, terms of payment and currency and blah, 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 and many other things as well. So when I'm going to create any vendor in this vendor account group, when I'm going to create vendor, I need to maintain information for these 3 categories. But in each of the category, system will have hundreds of things to ask. And we fill the information depending on what we want to fill, which is important for us. So through field status, we can decide which information is important, which information means fields. Which field is important, we want to make it required. Which field is completely irrelevant for the vendor, we hide that field, which should be kept as optional. So we can decide the field status for our vendors on the screen. And the status of our vendors fields can be set to what we want, like required field, optional field, display field, completely hide, which is suppressed. So let's see. Double click on general data. We see these options. In each of the option system will have multiple fields. Say I double click on address and I get so many fields. This is one field, one field, one field, one field, one field, one field, and so many fields. So when I'm going to create my vendor, I can maintain fields like these. But obviously, this much will be not important always. So depending on what field is required, important for me, I make this field as required information. Something is not at all important, I make it as hide, suppress. Something is okay if you have this, put it, otherwise you can skip it, optional. Or if I want to make something as display, I click on this, radio button. These are called as radio buttons. Depending on what status we want for our fields, we choose the options here. I'm not making any changes for now here, so I go back. And there is something else, company code data. Double click, then you go to account management. For my vendor in this account group, VD01, I can maintain these kind of information as well, which is finance information. But here, there is one thing which is very important from finance side called as a reconciliation account, which must be maintained. Because it's going to be maintained, because it's important, we make it required. In short, for now, reconciliation account means it will be used for the reporting of our vendors. Like for my vendors, when I'm going to create reports, a reconciliation account will be needed. It's a bigger topic for financial guys, but because we are not doing finance, it's not so important for now for us. So briefly, any transaction we do for our vendors, you're paying some money to your supplier. Kind of these transactions when we do, these transactions will be recorded in your books. Books means software system, let's say for now, through reconciliation. Or briefly, reports will be done for our vendors through this reconciliation. I go to my purchasing data. In purchasing, you have these many fields. Any of these which we feel is important, like let's say purchase order currency, I must add currency for my purchase order, or I should have my payment terms as well. I can make this required. Once this field status in this group is done, I click on this save button and my vendor account group VD01 is created. So step number 1, creating vendor account group is done. We go one step back. For this group, I now have to create number range like this number range or this number. And we can create multiple number ranges like this for multiple groups, one for each. So to identify this number range, I can give a code, let's say number range A, number range B. That means my number range A is going to be 101 to 200. My number range B will be 201 to 300. Or I can give number as well, 11, 12. Number range 11 means this one, number range 12 is. That means to identify my series, I can specify any code. Can be alphabetic, alphanumeric, numeric as well. All right. So now to create a number range for my group, I come to create a number range. This step, create number range. And here we have 3 buttons. Throughout our training in this SAP, we'll be seeing these different buttons. If you have this image like spectacles kind of button, which means this button is display button, means display intervals. Display interval means something is already created, you just want to display, click on this, like this. And we have a display. If you have a button which is like this pencil kind of button, means here we can create or change something. I click on this, I say this one. All the number ranges I have here, either I want to make some changes here or I want to create new number range. I come to this. And there is something called a status. We come to status a little later. So for now, you want to create your interval for your vendor account, to click on this interval button, change interval. And we come to this screen. Suppose we are planning to create 11 for my series 101 to 200. To create this number range interval, I click on this insert interval button. This is my insert interval button. I click on this button and I put my code and the series which I want to create, let's say 201 to 300. And as soon as I press enter and I say my number range 11 for the series 201 to 300 will be created. So if I press enter, system gives me this message. Interval already available. What it means is, here in this section, you can see so many ranges. Every single number range has to be unique. Cannot be a repetitive or duplicate range. It creates conflict. So because I'm trying to create this one, which is already created here somewhere, system says you cannot use existing range to create it again, right? So what I'm trying to explain that every number range you want to create has to be unique range. You see, this is unique. Like 11 is 101 to 200, 12 is 201 to 300, different ranges. That way, every number range has to be unique. This is one option. Second, I can use the number range which is already created as well, like from this. If I want to use, let's say, number 3. I decide not to create any new. I decided to use the existing one. Let's say this one. That means whenever I create my vendor for my group, my vendor will be assigned number from the series 03, means this one. Now I have a question for you. If I plan to use this range 03 for my group, how many vendors maximum can be created in this through this range? Anyone please? Range is this to this. And the question is, if I use this series for my group, how many total vendors can be created using this series?
11, I think.
How many?
More 11. After that, we will cross the limit.
You said 11?
Yeah, more 11 we can create under this range.
No. Forget about this part for now. I think you are
okay.
considering this section.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have this range, for now, just assume this is nothing. Okay. Just completely forget this section. And if you have this series, how many total vendors can be created?
100.
Yes. 100, or if I want to be very specific, 0 as well means 101. But for now, let's say 100 only. Okay.
Yeah.
That means when we try to use the existing range, we want to make sure we use the number range which is big enough, not like just 100. Why? Because after some time, this number range will be done. I will not be using this. I will be using number range, let's say, kind of this one, which is slightly bigger one. Or I can use the number range, which is, let's say, 09. This one. See, I can create vendors in millions if I use this range. Or I can use 08 as well. That means we always either create or use the range which is big enough. This was just to explain, but we never use or create this small range. We always create something like this. So that we never go short with the numbers for our group, for our vendors. Okay. So let's try to use, I can use maybe this one, 02, because it is big enough. That means I'm not creating any new, I'm just trying to use something which is already created, 02. I go back one step. I'm not making any changes, so I'm not going to save it. Assign number range to vendor account. Come to this, go to position. My vendor account group is VD01. Assign 02, which we decided to your group. Press enter to validate. Click on save. Transport request, green check. Vendor account group is assigned with the number range 02. And we have done these 3 steps. Create group, which we created VD01. Use number range, we used 02. And we assigned VD01 to 02. So small section of configuration for vendor is done. We have another topic called as partner function. But this partner function we do in separate session, so I skip it for now. And now we are ready to create our vendor master. We are ready to create a vendor master. To create vendor master, we use XK01, XK02, XK03. Centrally, if you want to create a vendor, we use these tools. Financially, if I want to create my vendors, I use FK01, FK02, FK03. At purchasing level, if I want to create my vendor MK01, MK02, MK03. Vendor has a code which is called as account type. Vendor means always K. Because in SAP vendor means K, you see K is K, K, K. X is centrally, F is for finance, M is at materials management level. So these transaction codes which you have.
What does centrally mean?
Yeah, I'm coming on this. I'll explain that as well. So the transaction codes which we have here are created logically. Means if I want to create my vendor centrally, I will go to these screens. At financial level, I go to these screens. At procurement level, I go to these screens. But what these means? Centrally means, or basically, I'll show you here. When we create a vendor, we have to maintain general, company code, purchasing information. We discussed through field status already here. Right? I explained you that when we create any vendor, we maintain general company code and purchasing information. So if we have entire piece of, like we have a complete information of a supplier, we can create our vendor at central level, in which we'll update or we will maintain general information, accounting, which is company code information, purchasing, which is purchasing information. If we have every piece of information for our vendor master, we create vendor centrally, because we want to maintain our vendor fully. But its financial department can also create vendor. But if finance department is or financial team is creating vendor, they will maintain general and company code information, because they will not have procurement purchasing information of the supplier. If financial team has to create vendor, they will go to this FK0123. If purchasing team means we have to create, team has to create, they will create at this level, purchasing level, where they will have general and purchasing information. They will not have financial or company code information. That means vendor can be created at 3 levels. If we create vendor centrally, means we have complete information and we can create vendor fully. If finance team is creating, means they can create vendor at their level for their information, and later purchasing team will just add their information for the vendor. Or if purchasing team is creating vendor, they create this vendor completely, but without accounting information, but this vendor is created. Once it's created, they update finance team, and finance will add their information for the existing vendor. But ultimately, vendor's complete record needs to be maintained. We will try to create vendors centrally because we want to maintain everything. Now there's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So in SAP, we have a pattern. This pattern is called as pattern 1, 2, 3. Pattern 1, 2, 3 means create, change, display. Pattern 1, 2, 3 means create, change, display. Anything I want to create. I want to create vendor, I want to create material, I want to create purchase requisition, I want to create purchase order. Anything I want to create will be 1. Like for example, XK01, FK01, MK01, or MM01. Anything I want to create means 1. Anything I want to change means something is created, I just want to make changes, 02. Or if I just want to display that information, I go to 03, XK03, FK03. Like. So this pattern is very important for us to know, because most of the transaction code which will be using this sequence, like, create, change, display, will always follow this 1, 2, 3 pattern. I'll open all 3 screens, XK01, FK01, and MK01, so that you can see the difference between these screens. This is XK01, where system asks for accounting information, purchasing information, account group means general information. I click on Control and or Command and to open another screen. One more session. I go to MK01 screen. Here system is asking for purchasing information and account group general information, but no company code information. I control and one more time. I get one more screen. And I go to FK01. Here system would ask for company code and accounting information, account group, but not purchasing information. When finance team will create, they will create here without purchasing information. When procurement team creates, they will create here without accounting company code information. But when we maintain vendors centrally, we maintain here XK01 where we maintain information for all three categories. Okay. So I close this, and I come to this screen because I want to maintain complete information from a vendor for all three sections. So now we are ready to create a vendor master. When we come to this XK01 screen to create vendor, system will ask for vendor's number, company code in which you want to create your vendor, purchasing organization in which you want to add, and your account group information. Vendor number we never give. System manages automatically. Leave vendor blank. Leave vendor blank. Go to next one, company code VD01. Leave your purchasing organization VD01. Give your account group VD01. Why I'm giving same codes? Because I created these codes for these different units. In real time, you may have different codes as well, but it's completely fine. Whatever company code we have, put the company code, purchase organization put here, and whatever account group you have in which you want to create your vendor, add your account group. You can't come to the screen without creating these things because it will give you error. For that reason, first we created all these things, organizational units, and now we are creating vendor for this combination. Vendor we leave blank. Press enter to get inside the screen to maintain information of your vendor. Title means the supplier which you are trying to create is what type of supplier. Is it a company? Is it a person or what? Usually our vendor will be another company. And you give the name of your company, supplier. Let's say Vasu vendor number 1. And then comes search term. Search term means this is name of your vendor, but to search this vendor from all the vendors when we have, you can use any short code as well. Let's say VV01. That means whenever this vendor I want to search, I can search my vendor through this search term VV. And then these are another fields, field. So many fields you can see here. Something is which is important and required, you will have for that field this check mark. That means other information can be, other fields can be skipped for now, but country field is required. Set is required, so we cannot skip it. So put your country CA. Or you can use the drop down as well to select your country. Other fields, if you have information, you can fill like address. If you have, you can fill up, or we can do it later as well, because it's not required for now. This is one page for your vendor. Then we go to next page, next screen to add more information. This button. Next page, next screen, previous screen. Next page, previous page. So let's go to next screen. Here we add accounting information, tax information for our vendor. Because it's not for us for accounting, we are not going to maintain next screen. Here we maintain bank information of your vendor, banking details of your supplier, but it's for finance to maintain next screen. Here we add contact person for your vendors. That means Johnny D in department finance. Kathy P in department procurement. So here for your vendor, we can add contact people for the respective departments. This is also optional, but I explain it to you. Next screen. This is also accounting screen, where system is asking for a reconciliation. We can't skip because it's required. So click on the drop down and you will see these things. These are different GL or general ledger accounts. What is GL? What is general ledger? We will discuss when we are discussing basics of finance. But for now here, for each of the vendor, when you create your vendor master, use one GL account 160000. This. Always for every vendor, use this number. Always for every vendor, use this GL account, reconciliation account number 160000. Again, when I click on the drop down, how come I see all of these? Because these are showing up in my company codes. Because when I created my company code from that template 1000 company code, in which all of these were created already. So when I copied 1000 and created my VD01, GL accounts are also copied, right? And I'll be using just one, always 1600. And there is something called as cash management group, which is not relevant for us, but because it's required, I put something, let's say able. Vendors information, I filled up reconciliation account, I give my cash management group, I go to next screen. Again, this is also accounting screen. How do I know this is accounting screen? You see this one. You see the name of the screen, accounting, payment transactions accounting. Vendors accounting information like payment method, their banking information, payment terms, blah, blah, blah things needs to be maintained, but by finance team, not by us. So we go to next screen. Again, this is also correspondence accounting. Dunning. This is called as Dunning screen, where we have to provide Dunning information. Dunning is nothing but reminder messages or reminder, notes to your suppliers or customers for payment. Reminders for payment. If you want to issue any reminder letters to our suppliers or customers, for that we have this screen, but still this is accounting, not for us. Next screen. And now comes our screen, as you see, purchasing data. Whatever fields we want to maintain, we can maintain. If you remember, I made purchase order currency required, so it's required information. I made terms of payment required, so if you see you have this green check, that means we got to fill this to information minimum. So I give my currency CAD and I add my payment terms from the drop down, let's say immediately. Payable immediately. I can add other fields as well, but for now, I just maintain these two because I made these two as required. Then I go to next screen. Here we have to add partner functions information. But this partner function topic is another separate topic. In detail, we discuss about partner function. And when we are discussing partner function, we come back to create a vendor master again, and then we see how partner function would change a vendor master information. So for partner function for now, I just leave it blank. I'm not putting nothing. I just go to next screen. And once all the screens will be done, system will ask me to save the details. If I say yes, I want to save this, means vendor will be created. Okay. But sometimes, not in real time, in the training environment, we may get this kind of messages, but that means the number range which I used, 0 to, is going to be used by other groups as well. And in other groups, this vendor is already created, right? I just exit. And I can try again, but we may get the same message again. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to quickly change the number range of our vendor account group so that we don't see these kind of unnecessary messages for now. For that, I go to financial accounting, accounts payable, vendor accounts, master data, preparations, create number range, insert interval. Let's say we're going to use 09. I'll try to use 09. Okay. I go to assign number range, VD01, and I change it to 09 and let's see. Now let's try again. XK01 screen, create vendor, leave vendor number blank, company code, purchase organization, account group, press enter. Title company, vendor number 1, give your search term, give your country. Next screen, accounting information, tax information, next screen, banking information, accounting information, next screen, contact details, for now we can skip it, next screen, reconciliation account, always use 1600. Cash management, not important for us, use from the drop down any group. Again, this is accounting information, payment terms, payment method, dunning information, accounting information, our purchase order currency, our payment terms, immediately 0001. Next screen, this is part of function. Again, this is another topic for us. I skip it for now. Next screen, and if I save, system says all the way down at my footnote, vendor number blah 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 is created for my company code in this purchasing organization. So that's how we create one vendor. If I want to create one more vendor, I come to the same screen because this is XK01 screen. Leave a vendor blank. Why do we leave vendor blank? Because if you see, ultimately at the end when I save my vendor's information, vendor's number will be assigned automatically like the one which we saw before. To create another vendor, put this details and press enter. Vendor number 2, search term, country, next screen, bank information, tax information, next screen, banking details, next screen, contact details, next screen, reconciliation account, next screen, accounting information, next screen, dunning information, which is accounting information. This is purchasing information. I add currency and payment terms, next screen, part of function, not for now, next screen. Yes, I want to create another vendor. One more vendor with the number blah 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 16 is created. I want to create one more vendor. Press enter. Title, vendor number 3, country, tax information, accounting information, bank information, accounting information, contact details, reconciliation account 160000. Next information, next screen, payment term, accounting information, dunning information, order currency, purchase order currency. For my screen, purchasing screen, I add payment terms. I go to next screen, part of function, next topic, not for now, enter and say yes. That's how we create vendor master on XK01 screen. Very easy. We're just trying to add details. That's it. Next is XK02, change some information for your vendor. Sometimes vendor will change some details, like they relocate to another address. So they update us for the address. And we have to change the address in our system for our vendors. Name, they change any information, let's say phone number, email, address, name, banking information, payment terms, any changes if you want to make in the existing vendor, we go to XK02 /n XK02. Change vendor screen. In whatever vendor I want to make any changes, from the drop down, I click on the drop down, I give my company code, I green check. And whatever vendors we have created in our company code, you get a list of your vendors here. Select the vendor in which you want to make some changes. Let's say vendor number 3, number 70. Give a company code and purchasing organization, and then you go to specific page where you want to change something. General screen, these are the pages. Company code, accounting, these are the pages. Purchasing, these are the pages. Any changes you want, just go to specific page. Now we do not have to go to all the screens because not required. But suppose I want to update the address of my vendor, I select this option and I press enter. I immediately go to this respective page where I can add the address. Let's say 123 New Street. Here I can add or edit anything from a vendor master. Press enter and save. I didn't see any of this screen because it was not required for me. That means you come to the screen, select the screen specifically where you want to make some changes and get inside and change and save. And final is if you want to just display my vendor master, just to make sure things are updated, XK03. Change vendor screen layout. Display vendor screen layout is exactly same. But through the name, we can identify display vendor. That was before it was change vendor. Any page for any updates you want to check, select the page or select the screen like address. I just want to make sure that I've updated address of my vendor. I select this screen, I press enter. And what I see is my address is maintained and updated as well. That means here on this display vendor screen, I cannot edit anything. I can just have a display. Because if I want to make some changes, I go to change screen. To display, I come to this XK03 display screen. Here I have something called as display and change button. You see this display change button, display change. Spectacles and pen like button, display change. If I click on this display change button, my display screen can be converted into change screen. And my change screen can be converted into display screen. Usually we have two different screens. Change screen is XK02, display screen is XK03. But the screens can be flipped. Suppose one more time. I come to the screen. I realize this is display vendor screen. Everything is grayed out, means I cannot make any changes. See, I'm trying to edit. I'm not able to do nothing. But if I realize I want to make some changes, I have to still go to XK02 change screen. But from here as well, I can flip. Click on this change button. I can make some changes and I can click on save. My vendor master will be updated. And this is how today we have finished vendor master topic. So now we are going to learn how we navigate from one screen to the other screen in SAP using a transaction code. I am on this easy access user screen, which is also called as home screen, main screen, user screen, front end screen. From this main screen, easy access screen, if I want to go to any screen, let's say XK01, I simply put the transaction code of the screen and I press enter. I come to the screen. I want to go back to my home screen. I put /n transaction code. /n is a transaction code which we use if you want to go back to our main screen from any SAP screen. Press enter, you come back to home screen. From home screen, if I want to go to some screen, one more time. If I want to go to, let's say, XK02 screen, I simply put my code and I press enter. I come to my change vendor XK02 screen. I want to go back to my home screen, I put /n. I am again on my easy access screen. This time I want to go to XK03. We display vendor screen. Simply put transaction code, press enter, you come to this screen. But now I do not want to go to my main screen. Instead, I want to go to some another screen, third screen. Let's say some screen. I want to create one material. MM01 screen. Because I am not on home screen, I cannot simply use the transaction code. I need to add /n and then my transaction code of the screen where I want to go. That means if I am on home screen, I use transaction code. But other than home screen, like this one, and from this screen, I want to go to some third screen, let's say XK01, create vendor screen. I cannot go using the same code. I mean, I can use the same code, but I have to add /n. That means through /n, through main screen, we are getting redirected to this screen. Put /n XK01, press enter. Again, put /n ME21 end screen, press enter. But now this is a screen. I want to go to some another screen. Let's say I want to create my vendor. XK01 screen, press enter. I can't go. See, I put press XK01. System is not giving me any response. MM01 not giving me any response. But now I put /n XK01. I come to /n screen. Means create vendor screen through /n. Through /n means through home screen. We are not directly going to the our screen, but we are going through /n through easy access screen. That's how we navigate. Is it clear?
Thank you, Gaurav.